All right, we're back. Another overtime episode. Episode number 12. This week. When did we watch Hellraiser? 2 weeks ago at this point? Uh,
Um,
yeah.
no, it was our last movie.
Well, no, but this is going to come out. The
Yeah,
Facade,
I don't know
Tyler.
about all that. I don't know about all that. I was like, what?
Mandy will be out, and then whatever Maverick has picked will be out. So, yes, 2 movies ago we did Hellraiser. So, back with Hellraiser 2. That's called Hellbound Hellraiser 2 from 1988. Just like Killers Have Eyes 2, which we did last week, it came out a year after the first one. So I think I read that the sequel got greenlit while they were still making the first one. So it was always they were always going to make a sequel of this. Um, Boy, I didn't like the first one that much. Uh, and then this one just came to a screeching halt on everything. So I don't know. I'm giving this one another two.
Yeah, I give this one. I don't know. It's it's hard, right? But I'm gonna give this one like a three.
Classic little three.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
All right. Well.
can't really say until we get to the spoiler.
Yeah. Yeah. I was interested going into it because I know this one is sort of like diehard Hellraiser fans. They battle it out to be like it's a good movie or it's not a good movie or what. But I think we know where we stand on
Yeah,
the
so
on that. But so hey, spoilers for Hellraiser 2. Everything's getting ruined. So be
yeah,
so be warned. Um so anyway, the movie starts off basically right after the end of the first one. You even have to sit through like a 5 minute recap of the first one in the beginning of like the ending sequence of the first one. You have to sit through that. And so now the main character from the last one, Christy, the daughter of old Larry, R.I.P. Larry, is in a psych ward because they don't believe her story about Cenobites and all that stuff. Which who would? But
yeah,
hey, by the way, they talk about they're like, oh yeah, your boyfriend had an interesting story. Did he just get off scot free?
yeah, yeah. They're like, you sent him home a couple hours ago.
Yeah, but this lady has to stay behind, which maybe it's because, which we'll later learn that like the main doctor who's running the place is obsessed with like the Cenobites and the puzzle box and everything. So maybe he knew she's the one that activated the puzzle box or interacted the most with like the Cenobites. So maybe he kept her around for that reason, but that's the only thing I could gather from that why they would keep her and not the boyfriend. But yeah, so people think she's crazy and she's in a psych ward. Like a hidden psych ward or something. It's in like the basement of this whole place.
I think that was just that one wing,
Yeah.
because that one wing with the padded rooms or whatever was in maintenance,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that because the cops are there, at the
Yeah.
beginning. So, and they just vanish and never come back ever again.
Yeah. Never to be seen.
So
Yeah.
it's just such a weird, weird movie.
Mm.
So,
Well, I
and
remember.
it's not even weird. Like it's there's this thing with this lady where they love to drag on with her.
Yeah.
And like the first one, I was like, okay, they're trying to like establish that this lady's in love and blah blah blah. And then this one, they just did the same thing.
The
I was
exact
like,
same
good
thing. Yeah.
lord.
But now she's the. By the way, so at the end of the first one, you had said that you got spoiled that she turns into a Cenobite. For some
Yeah.
reason, I thought you were talking about the daughter, And so I remember being, what's up?
I am.
Well, shit. All right. Well, and so
I
then
guess
when
the next movie,
maybe when she became the Cenobite, I was like, oh fuck, it was her all along. But hold on, these
Well, they,
dogs are scratching on my. Go ahead, keep talking.
I mean, I'm not sure they be. It's no one. The only person who became a Cenobite was the doctor.
Yeah,
The other girl was doing whatever Frank's.
yeah, she
thing
was whatever Frank is,
Yeah.
which they still. So in the first one, we wondered how Frank gets to come back and shit. Apparently, it is what I just threw out there randomly because I was like, well, it was the same room, so maybe it just has something to do with that. I guess that's because they have the bed that the mom died on, and so then if you put blood on that bed from I'm assuming it has to be but that's how they bring her back. Is this guy lets one of the crazy people cut himself a bunch because he thinks he has maggots on him, which then causes the mom to like come up out of the bed and like grab him and shit, and then very slowly watch them slither across the floor after each other.
That was like a 10-minute scene.
It was so long. I was like, what are they doing?
So okay, my random question.
Okay.
They had you so invested in that like young doctor,
Uh-huh.
just to have him killed.
Just to kill him. Yeah. Which yeah, I remember they kill him, and so I was like, okay, whatever. I was like, I guess it's because he's the only one that knows what's going on besides the daughter or whatever. But then they have the thing where the Christy or whatever walks in, and she see Kirsty, sorry, and they see the Julia, who's been resurrected, and she's like, "Come on, Snow White, give me your best shot," and immediately gets laid out. Like she just lays out Christy, and then and I was like, why didn't she kill Christy then?
You say Christy instead of Kirsty.
It's whatever. It's a dumb name. Why they make it so difficult?
Well,
Yeah. And she just leaves her alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's just upstairs for like hours.
Yeah.
Knocked out.
Yeah. Which they so I kind of gathered that, at least for me, did everyone in that psych ward, like the dude with the maggots and shit, it feels like they had like run-ins with the Cenobites.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Because later on you find out that he has all these other crazy people working on puzzles.
Yeah.
So you gotta be like, okay, those are the people who. But if they've opened the box, then they'd all, probably be dead.
Yeah. So. But that's how I took all the crazy people. I was like, maybe this is like people he's been collecting that he knows have been like with the Cenobites or whatever. Also, by the way, apparently, like, so at the beginning of the first one and the beginning of this one, the beginning of the first one, you have Frank messing with the puzzle box. And at first, it's like, oh, he fucked up, and that's why he gets the hooks in him. But then apparently that's just how he passed it, and that's just how it like welcomed him in. And I was like, okay. And then this one starts off the same way, and I remember being like, okay, they're just like literally the hooks and everything. But then you learn that what you're watching is the birth of Pinhead, and he gets all his nails hammered into his head and shit. And it was like, oh fuck.
Well, his box opened differently.
It did.
But he had the little flaps open, and I was like, oh, cool. Well, maybe there's a ring or something. No.
It was the same thing. Had the same effect and shit. For a minute, I thought it was another flashback to the original. Like, which, by the way, speaking of flashbacks to the original, they have it at the beginning, and I was like, okay, whatever, nice little recap, because then it goes right into afterwards or whatever. And then randomly, like 40 minutes into the movie, they do another one. And this one even longer, where the woman tells the whole fucking story of the first Hellraiser. And I was like, what? And like the movies only came out a year apart. It's not like it was years apart or anything. And so I was just like, I hate that recap shit in movies.
I thought it's like a Dragon Ball Z anime to where they're just like recapping the last episode for over half of the current episode.
Yeah.
Like I said, if I hadn't agreed, I would have been. I was like, had my mouse on the X.
Yeah.
They had that weird blonde girl, Stephanie.
Tiffany. That we don't even know if that's really her name.
Yeah, she was like a mute or whatever. But then randomly she's like, shit.
Every time, this is like the fourth movie we've had with someone who's mute. And then randomly in the movie they just start talking and like, it's like, that girl, I recognize her because she's like the main character and from what a lot of people say is the best Nightmare on Elm Street. Oh no, maybe not. That's not true at all. She's in Dream Child. But Dream Warriors is the one that people say is the best one.
It's the one where the people get powers, where the
kid's
like a wizard.
Yeah, and they're in the hospital and shit.
I think that's the third one, but I think the one you're
talking about. The third one, yeah, and the fourth one's where she's pregnant and the kid's dreaming, and that's why. Spoiler for that. But yeah, she's around, and what's her deal? Her like, I don't know.
I think they're trying to make you think that she's autistic.
Yeah,
and she's good at puzzles or whatever.
Uh-huh.
But like it's really weird.
Yeah, but then you get a bunch of flashbacks of her mom being like, "I need you to help my daughter" and stuff. And so it's like, I kept thinking she like I said had like a run-in with the Pinhead and stuff. But then I don't think she ever did.
Well, it's at the end, like you see her, and it's her mom who's getting surgery on by the doctor.
Yeah.
And you're like, what?
Yeah.
Why did he see that thing about helping his daughter then?
I started thinking, like, I was like, is the mom supposed to be that lady that they were fucking around in her brain earlier? But then I don't know if it was. I think that was just a random lady. Yeah. So, and then I remember being like, I wonder if these people live. And then later we get the morgue of just all the dead people with their heads like cut open. I was like, oh, never mind. They don't live at all. Yeah. So the big part in this movie is Julia coming back to life, and I remember being like, oh fuck, this chick's back, But then I was like, oh cool, they still get the makeup, looking all wet and fucking bloody and shit. But then, like 2 minutes after that, the guy wraps her up in bandages, and she has this dumb mummy look. And I was like, okay, this is going to be pretty bad to watch her look like this the whole movie. And then a minute later, perfectly back to normal. She's back to regular Julia.
Well, the guy starts making out with her.
As she's still the bloody lady, yeah. And, yeah, it was pretty gross.
I was like, what am I watching?
Yeah.
Like, and it made no sense. Like, it was all, I don't know.
Yeah, ooh. It was something. There's the one part where, Kirsty, got it right that time, is, sitting in like the bed in the hospital, and she starts getting visions of, what she thinks is her dad, spelling out the "I'm in hell, help me" or whatever, and he's all fucking which I've seen that forever. It's just like a meme, and always kind of assumed it was from Hellraiser, but now I know it's from Hellraiser. And I remember watching it and being like, "Oh shit, Frank's back," and but then she's like, "It was my dad." And I was like, "Oh, maybe it was her dad." And then later, when we're in hell or wherever we are, Frank pops up, and he's like, good to see, I'm the one who was doing the I'm in hell thing or whatever. And I was like, yeah, I knew that was Frank. Like, I could tell by his jaw.
Yeah, when I first saw it, I thought they had gotten lazy.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, they're using the same mask.
Yeah.
And, yeah, it ended up being just the same guy.
Same dude, yeah. And I was like, okay. And I can't, it was him in the makeup doing the I'm in hell thing, too. So it's not like they tried to do a switcheroo.
Yeah.
But it was him the whole time. And I knew it was him. I was like, what? God, he pops back up. We talked so much shit about his switchblade. And he popped back. And I was like, this dude and his fucking switchblade. Which, You should have left that behind.
It's like, but like we're talking about all this. This is well, I guess the Frank thing happened in hell,
Uh huh.
but they literally they go to hell in this film,
Yeah.
and well, what they call hell. I don't know if it's hell, but
It's yeah, it's something weird. And they have like a weird like shape god. There was a
Leviathan.
Leviathan, yeah. That's just sort of it's like a weirder, lamer version of the that tower in the Lord of the Rings with the eye.
Yeah, there's Sauron.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
The weird thing is that all the cinephiles get killed or whatever. The Cenobites
Cenobites, yeah.
by one dude, and I'm like, how is what? Like, there's
Yeah, I
four of
guess that was
y'all.
supposed to be like, oh, look at how powerful this guy is. But it was just.
Man. The dude came out looking stupid as shit. First of all, 'cause he had the lines on his head.
All I could think about was, because we brought it up in the first one, but Event Horizon, where, what's the dude's fucking name? Sam something from Jurassic Park.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sam O'Neill.
Yeah, and it's like he pops back up, and you're like, "Oh, I'm a bad guy now. I got lines on my face." And he's
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
like, yeah,
And he looked pretty funky then. He looked like a rejected pinhead, and you're like, oh, look at this
mm-hmm.
guy. And then the big hose drills into his head,
Yeah,
and he walks around with like, I guess he can't use his hands, but his hands have like tentacles that come out.
yeah, and they all have like a scalpel, and one of them has a finger that just like points at people, and like
Or was a flower, like
one they just overdid it, where it came out, and then it was like blades, and I was like, okay, it's a blade tentacle, and then it sprouted more blades, and I was like, okay, more blades, and then it brought out a needle, and I was like, you're doing too much with this one tentacle. Um, yeah, I remember feeling pretty cheated when originally they like wrapped wire around his face and started digging in, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be cool. It's gonna like, whoosh, and face, and it didn't do that, and I was like, fuck. But then later on, you get him with the tentacle thing, and it rips his head like in half at the mouth and fucking pulls him off, and that was pretty cool. But yeah, that whole, but yeah, he kills everybody, kills all the Cenobites. Son of a bitch.
well, the guy tries to fight back. He hooks
Yeah.
him, and the guy's just like tink tink tink.
Yeah.
It's like what is this?
We do get a confirmation about that all the Cenobites used to be just normal people in a
Your
previous
favorite
life.
one ends up being a little kid.
He's a little fucking boy. Yeah, I was like, whoa, okay. Which also they fucked him up in this movie, and he's got eyes now. And I was like, what? And then I looked, and apparently they were filming some shit, and the guy playing him got hit in the fucking chin with like a hook or some shit. And he got pissed, and he was like, "Give me eyes." He's like, "I want eyes." and so, they gave him eyes, and people did not like the look of him very much. Which for us, it's like, oh, this fucking guy wanted eyes, but at the same time, he's the one getting messed up wearing this like blinding makeup or whatever. But, hey, I saw this film. Every now and then, we've watched a lot of movies that end up on this list, but famed film critic Roger Ebert, this film is on his most hated list. So,
Did you say why?
no, I'm sure if you look it up, there's a whole Roger Ebert website where it's just thousands of shit, because that dude was around forever, and he just reviews all types of shit. Um, I also saw this film along with Titanic. Hold the record for the most times two characters have repeated each other's names. So, Tiffany and Christy, or Kirsty, whatever the fuck it is. So,
They did scream it a lot. So hell is this weird spot that's just a bunch of doorways,
mm-hmm.
and it takes you to random places. None of them matter. I wish I could tell you more about it, but
Yeah,
none of them had any point of anything.
Yeah.
And then there's randomly booby traps, which the lady got sucked out of her skin.
Yeah, and randomly boobies.
How did that lady get sucked out of her skin?
I don't know. She like grabs Tiffany's hand, and then somehow her skin rips off, and so she goes flying back. And then it's only in there, so then later you can have her popping back up and seducing the evil guy to like betray him. But then guess what? It's not really her. It's Kirsty wearing the skin suit.
And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
It's like none of this makes sense.
Yeah. And so it's like, when did she have time to go run and put on a full skin suit? But
I mean, the whole place of hell, it's a labyrinth, right?
Yeah.
And, but she knew exactly where that was.
Yeah. So yeah. They have
Can we? Oh.
They have like a weird thing where for some reason the Tiffany is like, I guess she has to complete the box to like cut off the gateway or whatever. But she's like, I have to go complete the puzzle. So you go all through hell just to go right back at the beginning to go back in and get the puzzle. Then at some point, Pinhead is turned into like a diamond-shaped puzzle. That then, when Tiffany's solving it, it'll like show her move something, cut to her face, come back, it looks completely different, cuts back to her face, and then it's a box again. And it's like, we never saw how this turned into a box. It just goes back to a box.
I don't think it showed how to turn into that.
No.
Like, spike thing either.
It didn't.
Yeah. But it's, I don't know. It's pretty shit. Like I said.
Well,
but I mean, we're all, not trying to talk about the elephant in the room, which is the stupidest fucking ending I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, yeah, that was pretty bad.
I don't even know what that was.
Well, so one, arms come up out of the bed again, and so I was like, is this Julia again or what? And you don't see who it is, and then a fucking wood beam pops up that has all the faces of like all the Cenobites and shit, and like pinheads in there and everything, and then it turns around and that son of a bitch hobo is back again with the crickets on his face, and he's like, "What's your pleasure, sir?" or whatever. And that's how the movie ends. And I was like, "Oh man, if I thought the Hellraiser 1's ending was something."
Well, it had like all these other faces on it too, though.
Yeah.
And I was like, "What? Who are these other people?"
Yeah.
Like, I guess it was supposed to be a Frank or whatever. And I was just like, "Okay." I just wasn't sure what it was supposed to be. So.
I don't know what because I haven't looked into it. I don't know what the third one's about, because, I like to say, oh, well, Pinhead and all of them are dead, but that doesn't matter in horror movies. These fucks always come back anyway.
Well, I think they know a way to come back, right? So.
Maybe, yeah. Because,
like, right before he died, he, like, turned and looked at the girl and, like, smiled.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, I thought they were going to come back at the end and be like,
I thought, yeah.
But
when Tiffany's like backing up and the doctor dude's coming after her, and the box or the lift's like coming up, I was like, oh shit, it's going to be Pinhead. And then it was the Julia, and I was like, what? And that's when it was the fake out.
Yeah, well, that brings up another question. How did that bitch learn how to use the elevators?
Yeah, like... yeah, and the only other time we'd ever seen the elevator used was when Homeboy gets like needles and shit in his back, and yeah, which he gets turned and it comes back out, and he's like, and to think I hesitated, and then immediately gets drilled in the head and goes back. This dude sounds like a starting car like 4 times in this movie. Where he's like,
it does it for like a minute. It's not like a little bit.
Yeah. And so yeah, I don't know how she learned to use the elevators.
Because the elevator comes up and it's that girl coming out of it, and you're like, okay, well, she seems to know what's going on here, right? Like, she understands it. But then it's not her, it's the other chick, and you're like, well, wait a minute, she doesn't know a goddamn thing. Yeah. Like, how does she,
Yeah. Ooh, something.
There's a weird part too where she's fighting Frank and he has like that veil on or whatever. And I'd rather burn, and she throws it on the candles,
Yeah.
and then everyone burns up in fire. And I'm like, how did she know that I was going to do that?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. And then like Frank starts fucking peeling off his face again, and you see it's like because his picture was burning or something, and so yeah, I don't know, a lot of fire.
it.
um,
I don't know. I feel like we have to watch the third one now.
yeah,
But like, I hate myself
yeah.
for watching this one. So
I like. There's the scene where Tiffany first unlocks the box, and the Cenobites show up. About I don't know 45, 50 minutes through the movie, and you could tell that the first one to come out in Pinhead was like the big seller because everyone like comes out, but then they wait and they all turn and like music kicks in and Pinhead's like oh comes through, and I was like oh shit, which I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I don't care. You broke your Pinhead like he looks cool and stuff, but like I don't really. He hasn't done anything very,
none
very
of them does
cool.
anything.
No, like
Like
Pinhead's done his little hook thing like twice.
I keep waiting for them to be bad people when they're really not. You know, they're like,
Yeah,
you called us. You know, like what?
yeah. Even
You know,
like with Kirsty back or whatever, fucking Pinhead goes, "Oh yeah, go ahead, explore." Like lets her
yeah,
go. Which yeah. So I don't know. It's weird. We get a variation. I had a hard time hearing the Cenobites when they were talking in this movie. Like, I don't know if it was just the sound effects were loud or something, but every time they were talking, I was like, "What? What are you saying?" Uh, we get a variation of the "I have such sights to show you." This time it's Julia telling the doctor, which Julia's walking around acting like she rules the place. When keep in mind the first movie was like the day before. So
yeah.
she's been in the hell like for a day. So
Maybe it's that thing though, to where like time isn't relative. To where,
maybe it's like Narnia, bitch.
yeah, like she's been dead a day, but in reality,
Yeah,
she's been in hell for 10 years. So
it's something. Yeah. Um, it was yeah, it was something. This movie had a budget of $6 million.
jeez,
Made a box office of $13 million. So
good. I'm kind of
this
glad
one
because
did not do very well.
it made its money back and then some,
Uh huh.
but that first one made way too much money.
Yeah,
So
but um, what was I? I had something that made sure release. Fucking. Oh, Hellraiser 3 apparently. This movie was supposed to have a very in-depth subplot about Pinhead's like human life or whatever, but then they cut it, and so all you get is like that sort of beginning.
yeah.
Hellraiser 3, you get a lot more Pinhead backstory. So
I guess he's back, baby.
I would guess he is back. Yeah.
So
So
this they could have done so much more with this, to where like each, like I can't want to call them cinephiles, as the people that they look like movies, but
yeah.
each Cenobite like has their own realm, right?
Uh
And then when
huh.
you go into it, it's their domain or whatever,
Yeah.
and you escape. No, they don't do that. Like you don't know. It's all fish hooks and chains.
Yeah.
Like
Well, usually it's horror. It's just the way it goes. Where the first one takes time to build, and then you see the baddie for the first time, and then when the second one comes out, you know who he is and everything. So there's just a lot more of that or whatever. But I felt there was even less of the Cenobites in this one than there was the first one.
they call these movies like Pinhead movies and stuff like that,
Yeah.
right? Like
I guarantee you he must have only had 5 minutes max of screen time.
they're not in these movies.
Yeah.
These movies have nothing to do with him.
Yeah.
Like, if anything, Frank is the main star of both of these
Frank has
films.
been the main. Yeah, Frank and Julia been the main stars of the first two.
So I don't know. I was hoping it'd get better, right?
Uh
But
huh.
it hasn't. It's
Yeah.
like, remember I told you the first one had left so many questions, and you're
Uh
like,
huh.
what's it? They answered none of them.
Yeah. Like even the only one that they kind of answered was how you're rebirthed, I guess, because they're like, oh well, he died in this place, so I guess if you use that same artifact and give it blood or something, which even then that's very loosely how it
Yeah,
works. Um. Yeah. So and then it's like
maybe
it's
that's the cost. Like, okay, so you go through all this pain and pleasure,
uh
whatever,
huh.
and that's the cost. But then after that, the upside is you can literally never die
Yeah.
because you could just always come back with just a
Yeah.
little bit of help.
Yeah, yeah. I don't really know the rules of the Cenobites either, because for Pinhead, all we saw was he fucks with the puzzle box, gets dragged to hell, and then they nails into his head, and it's like, bam, you're a Cenobite. So it's like, does not everybody who does that what's the selection like? Who's getting picked out to be a Cenobite? Because his fucking kid's a Cenobite with little clicky teeth.
Yeah.
Which don't ask me how he turns into a full-grown man, because they've never shown that quality yet about how if you're turned into something else, you can become a full. Maybe you age over time as a Cenobite. See, maybe he was a little baby,
Just one tooth.
just one tooth. Yeah,
I don't like I said. It's confusing.
yeah,
Like, I'd be like, hey, you have to watch the next movie to find that out, and I'm like, there's no promise to that.
uh huh,
Like, so that's the problem. Is like, hey, okay, what's the deal?
yeah.
And there just isn't. Like, the last movie had some jump scares and stuff. This didn't even have that. It was just
No, I think the only one close to it was when the doctor's going around sliding open the doors, and he opens the one, and it's just one guy like screaming in his face.
well that,
But
and when those ladies are in the tunnel, and then all of a sudden the wall just blows up, and
yeah,
it's like a vacuum. But like these aren't scares, right? These are
yeah.
just experiences. So
Which
I don't know. It's I don't even have a part of this film that I liked.
oh yeah, we haven't done the favorite least
Yeah,
favorite.
I was
Hey,
trying to think of
favorite
it.
least favorite time. uh, I'll say my favorite is uh is probably dude getting his head ripped in half, just because it was cool looking, so I didn't mind that. Least favorite probably is just how much of like bitches that the Cenobites went out as. Like
They
that
like shot
was
them all with like Snickers bars or Twix bars.
yeah,
Like
and then
I still don't even know what they were, but
yeah, and then Pinhead gets like his neck cut, but it's not even Pinhead at that point because he's reverted back to his human form. So he's just some dude in like goth clothing.
yeah, he shot him with a blue laser, and then
Yeah,
that turned up, and I was like, "What's going on?"
yeah.
I think the only part I liked was the creepy baby doll.
With like the mouth sewn together.
Yeah, yeah, and I
Yeah.
was like, "That's just like
Oh, I
disturbing."
like that part. I wouldn't say it's my favorite, but when they first get to hell and they start, it's just like a clown like ripping his eyes out and shit,
Yeah,
and like TVs popping up, and it's like help me, and it's like delayed and shit. That was cool.
disturbing images and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was all right. My least favorite part of this movie is probably the first 45 minutes
Oh yeah.
because they do the recap, which is literally 30 minutes of this movie.
Uh huh.
And then when they're not doing the recap, it's just a lady in the hospital bed screaming.
Yeah. And then when they don't do that, it's just Julia trying to get this dude to fuck her. Like,
So this bothers me because I'm I like picking locks or whatever.
uh huh.
This dude broke into that doctor's office with a screwdriver.
Hell yeah.
He stuck it in the lock and he goes, boop, and that was it. And I was like, that's not how that works.
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah.
it was pretty bad.
Also,
But
just
yeah, I wouldn't watch this.
yeah. Um, just randomly. is Julia comes back and she's like from hell and supposed to be like no skin on her body, very clearly wearing underwear while she's on the
Yeah.
ground, and I was like, I get it, like you don't need her to like crawl around, but it was like you come up with a better effect, so I don't clearly see like, oh, this woman's wearing clothes. Like,
And I'm also gonna touch on something, but so Frank did this in the first movie. He came back,
uh-huh.
and he was like, pain, all the pain. It's
Yeah,
like I'm on fire, this and that.
yeah,
Homegirl, like, soon as she comes back, she starts like trying to seduce dude
yeah,
and look sexy and stuff. And I'm
yeah,
like,
like Frank can't even stand. He was
yeah,
like crawling and shit. Also, he's like four bodies deep, and then he finally like he's like, I can taste. Homegirl killed the one guy, is standing up wearing the whitest clothes you. Everything this doctor owns is white apparently, so
yeah.
blood's getting everywhere, and starts drinking wine. She's like, ah, wine. And I'm like, how do you taste this? This
Let
is
me get that cigarette, you
yeah.
know?
The only thing I'm like, I give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm like, maybe it's because she's only been in hell, for however long. Maybe Frank was in there longer, so his effects are worse. But
But she killed like 7 people
yeah,
just to get where Frank got,
yeah, she kills
So,
Frank, rips his fucking heart out.
yeah.
Which I was like, oh, Moy, who saw that coming? Where he's like, I knew you'd come back to me or something.
I just don't see why that kills somebody in hell.
Yeah,
I mean, the guy was just on fire a minute ago.
yeah,
So,
yeah. I
just
don't
what
know. And then there's very different sections of hell because there's some parts where people are just like fucking, but they're like attached to like those hooks and shit. So it's like everyone's experiences there are very
well, that was a
different.
weird thing because like the guy was looking and it ended up being Julia who was a lady, in the
Yeah,
three, and that was supposed to make him angry or whatever. And she was like, "Don't look at that,"
yeah.
But
Nah.
I don't know.
Oh,
There's like I said, there's got to be some underlying like weird sex thing that gets people off on these movies.
yeah.
This is the second one we watched. The first one I was intrigued by. This one I'm just like, what? So I paused the movie halfway through and laid on the floor with my dog. Like rolled
Yeah,
around. You know how you play with it. I
yeah.
was like, that's how much this movie sucked.
Hmm.
So
Well, hey,
third one.
thanks for listening to Hellraiser 2. Uh, uh,
If you guys have watched them and there's like something we're missing out on and we're not noticing, let us know. But
yeah.
I usually catch on things pretty quickly.
Yeah, like I didn't like the first one, but I was like, okay, let's keep going. And now I'm just kind of being like, maybe I'm just not into the Hellraiser franchise, but I don't know. There's always the third one. So, we'll watch that eventually. I don't know when, but we'll do it. I think I want to do. I think it's about time we head back to the Texas Chainsaw universe just to clean us of all this filth. Jump into more cannibal filth. So,
Well, like, what's the Event Horizon,
uh
right?
huh,
That's what I imagine these films would be.
yeah,
And they're not. There's
yeah.
no like trickery. There's no like
Yeah,
surprise.
love that fucking movie.
Yeah, there's nothing like that. And
Yeah.
like this is just like I don't know. It's just dumb. Like,
Yeah.
but I'm hoping. I think the third one is like 5 years later, right? That they made it.
Yeah. This one's 88. The next one's in 92. So four.
So maybe it gets better because Event Horizon was what 2000.
Event Horizon's 97, 98, or something like that.
So maybe like you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
we're still in the
Well,
phase where it's like the 80s to where they're trying to like that kind of
yeah.
so,
Yeah.
some people
Like,
might not know what that was, but yeah,
if you do, if you know, you know.
yeah.
So, yeah. So anyway, all right. Thanks for listening to Hellraiser 2. We'll cover 3 eventually, but we got some other overtimes we want to do. Last Friday, Mandy came out. Go check that out if you haven't. This week, I don't know what it is yet. Maverick picked it, hopefully. So, well, whatever that is, look forward to that Friday. And Tyler, you got anything else you want to say to the people before we sign off?
Um, no. I mean, these are older films, so you have to remember that you can't expect like remember when we watched Hills Have Eyes?
Uh-huh.
That came out. When did that movie come out? Like year what?
The one we watched?
Yeah, the first one.
2006.
So there was a lot of like crazy like rape and all kinds of stuff in there.
Yeah.
And these are all things that they would have never done 20 years prior when they made these movies.
Well,
So I think these movies are kind of like breakthrough,
yeah.
push the envelope.
It's funny
kind
you
of
say
deal.
that, because the next movie I'm planning on picking is supposed to be a nasty one. So.
So we'll see, right? Like I think like we're desensitized all the gore and stuff, especially us, because we murder all those homeless people.
Yeah.
But it's like we're so expectant. They're like, he just stabbed her in the heart, and
Yeah.
back then it's like, oh, that's horrible, But we're like,
Yeah. Keep in mind, I literally criticized this movie earlier because this dude who's been at this point stabbed with needles, injected shit in his mouth, and has wires cutting into his face. I go, should have went all the way through.
yeah.
So
like I'm thinking maybe that's what and I'm hoping whenever we watch the third one, which who knows when, that it'll come to fruition, right? Like
yeah.
they'll catch up and be like, all right, well, this is how we're gonna push the,
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Yeah.
At this point, the second was almost unwatchable. I think Puppet Master 2 was better than this.
Puppet Master 2 was something. So
that's all I had to say.
Yeah.
Sorry.
All right. Well, hey, thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe, all that good shit. And we'll see you Friday for whatever that is, and then eventually another overtime. All right.
Ooh.
Yeah. Coco's laying down here. I would pick her up to say goodbye, but she's sleeping pretty soundly, so I'm just gonna leave her alone. So see you guys later.